Well, in these trying times for business, it's perhaps never been more important to innovate and learn on the run. For more on building better businesses, it's great to welcome in founder of Pollack Peacebuilding Systems, Jeremy Pollack, to Ticker News. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
Yeah, really well, thank you. Where are you based at the moment? You're over in the States?
I am. I'm in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Oh, very good. How's life over there right now for you? All good?
It's great over here. Yeah, we actually just got here a couple days ago. So we've been all over the country, but we've been traveling for about a year now all over the country during COVID. So it's been
Nice.
interesting. It's been an interesting time. Yeah.
Of course, of course. Well, let's get into this. I might ask you about that experience in a moment, but in terms of best practices for established startup businesses, tell us more about this, your level of expertise, what your experience is with this, and some advice for businesses out there.
Well, we could. This is a large topic. We could go on and on about it, but
Of course.
right off the bat, I would say I think people these days, especially younger workers, millennials, under 45, are very much focused on getting their basic psychological needs met. And we have a suite of needs, but I would usually focus on the six sort of basic needs: autonomy, identity, safety, care, growth, and stimulation. And there's measurements that you could use in a business to assess how you're doing, how your system, how your culture is addressing these needs, fulfilling these needs, satisfying these needs in your organization. And so a lot of companies are doing surveys, they're doing assessments of some sort, but they're not doing a lot with that information. In fact, and sometimes maybe they are, but they're not really articulating or being clear about what they're doing with that information. So I think it's really important to do sort of regular assessments, whether it's every 6 months or every year, and then determine how you're going to address some of the things you're finding in terms of being able to satisfy the basic needs, psychological needs of your workforce, and creating an inclusive process by which you can figure out what are the ways that all of you would appreciate us addressing this. How can we address this? How can we satisfy these needs better? Making that an inclusive process, I think, is really important.
Well, let's talk more about that. And I completely agree with you. I think, now more than ever, being inclusive, being well connected to your employees and your team is just so critical. So in your experience, how can companies and business leaders do this better, interacting with employees, especially those under 45 years of age?
Yeah, so I mean, one thing that we do, we help facilitate these kinds of conversations. But if you're just going to do this even without a facilitator, can you build a trusting relationship with your workforce by holding, you can call them a forum, or you can call them an inclusive dialogue session, or whatever you want to call them, but having these sort of regular, maybe semi-annual meetings with everybody where they get to have impact, they get to have some input. It's really important to give people some input in decisions that are going to affect them. And I know that it's not always possible, and I know that ultimately, leadership is going to make decisions based on all the information that they have, and some employees don't all have all that information. But having an inclusive process in some way where you can ask, what do you think we should do? Here's what we're thinking. What do you think about this? And actually taking the time to consider what they're saying, and not just doing it like sort of checking off the box, but considering what people are saying, and then creating solutions that feel like people have had some input, they've had some impact. And I think that's going to be really important going forward. And it has been over the last 20 years.
And let's talk about, just to finish, handling workplace conflict at the moment. What would your advice be to businesses out there managing this side of what they need to do?
Oh, well, I mean, again, that's a large topic because it depends on what kind of conflict we're talking about.
Sure.
There's sort of acute conflicts like between individuals, but there's also systemic conflicts, that a culture of conflict where it's supporting these types of conflicts. But again, if you're seeing coworkers, for instance, in conflict, really important to have private meetings with each person separately, give them space to really talk about what's going on for them. And there's no easy way to tell managers what to do without getting some training, I think, in conflict management. I mean, that's one of the things that we've seen a lot. We've done some research, and we're seeing that a lot of people, especially in leadership roles, are not trained properly in conflict management or conflict resolution practices. And that's really important training to get if you're going to go into leadership, to understand what are the dynamics and the psychologies of conflict, and how do I help people get out of conflict and into a state of cooperation or a state of peace.
Yeah, no, I think it's great advice. As I said at the top, particularly at the moment, I think, we're more open with our conversations. I think people are more caring. People are, thinking about how employees feel at work more than we ever have in some ways, which I think is a great conversation to have. So really appreciate your time. If people want to learn a bit more or reach out to you, where can they go?
PollackPeacebuilding.com is our website.
Nice and simple. Well, enjoy your time over there in New Orleans, and we'll hopefully talk to you again soon.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.